you've had somebody leave the pool, I guess you could, but as far as after being in the pool, being provided the services of the pool, and having the coverage of the pool, no, Commissioner, we've not had any programs leave the program.
Well, I just remember we signed up, it did save us some money. I don't remember the amounts, but it wasn't savings in premiums.
Well, ultimately, and I think, and this is the most important piece I think about any pool, the pool is about stability. There will be times when a commercial provider will have the opportunity to beat the price of the risk pool. That will happen. I mean, that does occur. But what you don't get with the risk pool that you would get with a commercial provider is the ups and downs of cost. You get, and again, it goes back to you had kind of the stability of costs, and then you had 9/11 strike, and then things go up. Property goes up, liability goes up, costs go up, and then so it costs you more, and then things trickle back down, and then Katrina hits, boom, things jack back up again. So you kind of have that wave. You don't have so much of that with the risk pool because you're only dealing with the members and the members only. So the losses you're dealing with are only going to be county commissions in West Virginia that do the same thing within reason of what you all do. It's a certified, it's a qualified risk. You know what you're seeing. Everybody does roughly the same thing, albeit on different scales, but clearly everybody pays a different price too. But the pool is not here to compete. It's about providing a stability of cost and stability of service. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all very much for your time.
Matthew Turley, of business. Next thing on the agenda is Rick McDowell.
Welcome again, Rick.
Thank you.
Different hat.
No.
No hat.
I'm going to keep combining the EPA and the ARRA in the reports. Try to make sure it's clear. If it's not, let me know. At the end of February, we drew down the final federal dollars from the EPA grant. So we've gotten everything we were able to get from the federal government, which I guess is probably always a good thing to do. And I'm still working with Kathy Basham, our bookkeeper, to make sure that the final report you get is 100% accurate and there aren't any things that I'm going to have to come back later and say that we need to change. A couple of things I wanted to let you know that we've got on file that I didn't mention here. One is, it's my understanding there's a new state requirement that commissions have to have on file, anybody who does any work for them, they have to have on file that agency's drug-free workplace policy as a physical document in file. So we've got that for T.R. Davis, who's doing the work on that, on file. The other thing we've got to do is twice a month we get a certified payroll from Tim that we use to make sure that he's following the federal wage policy. Since this project, the ARRA project, has to follow the prevailing wage law. So we compare that, and we also have to do interviews of his workers to make sure they know what they're supposed to be getting. Some things that are coming up on the 23rd, we have a community committee that's meeting to work on long-term maintenance for both the ARRA project and the EPA project. We've got a meeting of that. Then on the 25th, we've got folks from Board Nimona, which is the name of the company that puts in the PuraFlow, that manufactures the PuraFlow peat systems. And they're going to come into the county, their national engineers are going to come into the county, they're going to look at the systems that we've got. We've got some minor, I think, troubles with some of the EPA systems that are in. They're going to help us troubleshoot that. They're also going to meet with him and talk to him about the other systems that we're going to put in. All the new ones that are going in are all Board Nimona systems. The other thing they're going to do is they'll come back later in the spring and do a workshop for community members. So everybody in the community that's got one of those systems, and anybody else who's interested, can come to this meeting and learn how these systems actually work, which I think will help with the long-term maintenance stuff. And at the end of the month, we'll do a tributary sampling, and we'll use what data we've gathered through the EPA project to continue seeing if we've got any changes. The second sheet is a copy of the DEP payment requisition. This is for the third one. If you go down toward the bottom, highlighted in boldface, $114,000. That's the total amount of money that we've gotten from the state DEP out of the $718,000 that we've been granted for the project. And what I'll do is, every time we do a payment request, I'll provide you with one of these that sort of shows you how we're spending down the money. There's a draft of one of several white papers that are going to be part of the final federal report. Rather than giving you this huge thing, it just seemed like maybe I would give you pieces of it as we crank them out. And this is the one that has to do with the water quality findings and the analysis of them. We've talked in the past about this. I think the two main things that we think are significant is one, that where we found that where we put new systems in houses that are side by side, when we do a tributary sampling, the quality of the creek is much higher than it is any place else in the watershed. So I think that's real positive. The other thing we found is that it's really important that we check these systems after we get them in with direct discharge to make sure it's working right, because we found that it isn't always that case. Having said that, though, it's expensive to do it, both in terms of time and lab analysis, and so there's a real question. We think this is a good thing. How do you make sure it happens without putting a real burden on the local homeowner, especially in low-income communities? And even more especially with these systems that are so expensive. So I'm not sure what the answer is, but it's a question that I feel like we need to have.
Do the high schools do this type of work? Do they isolate?
They can do it. There is the talented and gifted kids at the high school and the middle school are doing some water sampling where they're actually going to take some samples, they're going to put them in Petri dishes, and they're going to do some tests. I'm not sure that the state DEP recognizes those as valid,
right?
But it's better than nothing, and the Save Our Streams program, the National Save Our Streams people, do recognize it as valid. So we're going to be working with them as we get into even warmer weather than we've got
It's
right
really,
now.
you know, what in testing as far as the coliforms or the E. coli is not that.
No, they could actually do that. And those tests are not as expensive, of course, as going to a lab. And then the last thing you've got is a report from Tim Davis, who's our contractor on this. I'm assuming he's going to give us one of these monthly. It lists all the homes, his estimated start date, when he actually starts, when he thinks they're going to be in service, and it gives you the order of that. So you can see that at this point, we've got 5 homes that he's in the process of working on, and the hope is that 2 of them are going to be in service tomorrow, or be inspected tomorrow for the final inspection by the DHHR folks. So that's what we call the final in-service. As soon as DHHR says these are okay, we say they're ready to go. So he's moving at a good clip. I don't think there's, unless we have major problems, I don't think there's going to be any